What is going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be diving headfirst into the world of traps. I'm going to be making a tier list for you guys, ranking every single trap in Save the World from S tier all the way down into the F tier. So, if you guys are ready, let's get straight into this.
Want to be rich like me and save the world? All you guys gotta do is to like the video, subscribe, and join the Discord server. The link will be down in the description. We do tons of giveaways, events in there, so you guys can be rich just like me. Hope you guys enjoy the video.
So every single trap that I will be ranking will be rated under 3 categories. The first one is going to be damage output, the second one is going to be effectiveness, and the third one is going to be versatility. If a trap checks off on all of these categories, they are up for the A and S tier. If they only check for 2, it's going to be B or C tier, and if it's 1, it's going to be D and F tier. So let's introduce our tiers here. So we're going to be starting off with the F tier, might as well yell at the husk. Then up to the D tier, probably made by Dennis. And then C tier, mall cop level defense. Then we go up to the top half, which is going to be the B tier, good enough for Stonewood. A tier, the trap that's always invited to the party, and then the top dog S tier, base Kyle's favorite child. So let's get straight into ranking these traps. Alright, we're gonna be starting off with a banger here. It's going to be the sound wall. This is going to be going straight up into the S tier. So the damage output, can't really do anything about that. So we're not really going to be ranking it based off that category, but it's going to be effectiveness and versatility here. It is absolutely insane when you put this at the start of your trap tunnel, because the first thing you want to get rid of is the sploders. You do not want these sploders roaming around in your tunnels. So the sound wall does the job to get rid of those sploders, because they will be dancing and they will drop their bomb. And this also really helps making the other husk dance as well, but this is mainly for sploders, as sploders are an absolute killer in trap tunnels. That is why this one is going into the S tier. Alright, on to the next wall trap, which is going to be the wall lights. This one is going to be going into the B tier. Now, it is really good with a combination of having a wall dart and the wall lights, because you can put a wall light on a windowed wall and then put wall darts behind that, but you can really use something else instead of the wall lights, considering that it really is only a stun type trap and it really doesn't have a big effectiveness to it. But it does have that versatility thing with the windows, as you can place it on the window, but there's really better options for this, which is why it's going to be going into the B tier. Now, I think this trap is going to be very controversial on where I put this, because the broadside is an S tier type trap, but it can also be a B tier or C tier type trap, and I'll tell you why. So I'm gonna put this into the A tier. Alright, a lot of people will put this into the C tier, or even some people put this into the S tier. I believe if you know how to use this trap, it could be absolutely insane with the damage output category, but you have to have at least another wall facing the broadside, because the most of the damage output is the balls on the broadsides, those things bouncing back and forth. So that's what creates that damage output, and having 2 of those facing each other is absolutely insane. So if you utilize it like that and that type of versatility, then that can be an S tier type trap. But if you're using it like it's not even facing a wall, that can just go down to the C tier, as that damage output is absolutely terrible. There would be better options for that. So you just have to make sure, if you know how to use this correctly, it could be an A or an S tier type trap, which is why I'm just going to be putting this into the A tier. Alright, so we are on to the wall dynamos. The wall dynamo, you can use this in a lot of different ways, but the way I usually use this is a last resort killer for the husk. So this would be at the end of my trap tunnel. I am going to rank this at a top B tier, and here's why. The damage output, it's the best out of anything. It's not really a broadside type thing, because the broadside, you can put this anywhere in the trap tunnel. You can even put this at the end. So that versatility right there is a top tier for broadsides. Wall dynamos though, they don't really do that, right? It's really kind of like a ceiling zapper but on a wall. So damage output is there, versatility can be there, since it could be put on a half wall or a third wall, and then you could use a wall dart behind that, kind of like the wall light. But really, the effectiveness of it is not really there, which is why it's going to be going into the B tier. We got the wall launcher up next. The wall launcher is honestly one of the only things that can really push something out of the way at a far range. So obviously can't rank this at the damage output. Can't really use that category. But with versatility and effectiveness, it checks both of those off. Effectiveness, it's insane. You know, it pushes in a husk so many tiles, depending on what husk it is. But it really helps in terms of at least repositioning the husk. So that's one thing that not a lot of these traps have. So I'm gonna be playing this one at a top A tier. You know, you can have a trap tunnel without this trap really, but when you use it, it's a game changer. But it just needs a little bit more to be an S tier, like the sound wall. So that's why it's going to be going into the top A tier. Now we got our last wall trap for this, the wall dart. Versatility, it's absolutely insane. It is the best combo wombo out of all of these. You can pair this up with really any trap that could allow the darts to go through it. So half walls, windowed walls, all that. If you can pair those things up, this thing is an absolute S tier, which it is. So we're going to be playing that right behind the sound wall here. That's going to be the wall darts there, S tier. So I'm going to have to apologize here to my guy, Wall Spike. I absolutely forgot about him. This guy's damage output is absolutely horrendous, but it's not used as a damage wall trap. It is used as a heals builds attach or builds increased health. That is what it's mainly used for. Because yeah, you can use that heals builds attach or builds health increase with any of these other traps, but you're sacrificing another perk onto it. So using that perk onto the wall spike and just putting that behind the wall, like let's say I'm using a wall dynamo, instead of using that heals builds attached on the wall dynamo, I can instead put another damage perk onto that wall dynamo and put the heals builds attached onto that wall spike. So it is really good at that, and that is pretty much it. It's really borderline BC tier, so I'm gonna be putting that in the B tier. I'll give it that, you know, size does not matter. All right guys, size does not matter. Wall spike will be getting that B tier. So now we are on to the ceiling traps here, starting off with the gas trap. Gas trap's effectiveness, it's good, right? It hits all the targets within its one tile radius, so that's a key factor there. Its damage output, if you can pair this up with a wall spike or a tar pit, then you could at least slow the husk down to get more hits with the gas trap. So it does have a little bit of that into the damage output. The effectiveness, obviously, it hits that whole 1 tile radius. It hits all the husks there. So effectiveness is there. Versatility, though, it's kind of lacking a little bit there. I'm not going to give it an X. I'm going to give it a half X. So we're going to be putting this at the bottom of the A tier. Kind of essential with a trap tunnel. So that's why it's going to be going into the A tier. We got the ceiling drop trap. This one is a absolute nuke. All right. It's a nuke from the goddamn sky. It's going into S tier. We all know why. It can bounce back the husk. If you pair this up with a ramp or natural ramp, and you just have the husk in missions trying to go up that ramp, and you just got a drop trap from the fucking sky going down and they get knocked back, it's honestly insane. So the impact damage is there. Damage is not, it's a little lacking. That's not for it's not what it's used for, right? It's used as a impact and then a spawn trap. That's why it's going to be going into that S tier. Now we got the ceiling zapper. This is just like the wall dynamo. It's a high damage trap, but it doesn't have a lot of the effectiveness there, considering it can't hit a whole lot. In terms of a lot of husk, it's really a one-time wonder, and then you have to wait another 12 seconds for reload speed. But this is, like I said with the wall dynamo, this is what you would put at the end of your trap tunnel for any of the smashers that are trying to come through. I would just kill that smasher with a high damage trap. So pairing this up with a wall dynamo, it's gonna be going into the B tier. So this is a no-brainer coming into the last ceiling trap here. This is going to be an S tier. It's the top trap there is here. The ceiling electric field, it goes up 3 tiles high, 3 tile radius. It's honestly insane. The damage, it's not there in terms of hitting one single husk for high mod damage. That's not what its job is. It's to get rid of the small husk. It's to hit a lot of husk. And it's honestly, with the reload speed and damage, that those two things are good, right? And let's not talk about the durability. Durability for the all you AFK endurance guys, this guy is insane. The durability is there. Everything, it's top tier. That's why it's going to be going into the top S tier. Alright, so on to our last category of traps. We have the floor traps, and we're going to be starting off with the flame grill. Honestly, my first thought, if someone were to say what floor trap would you use, it would be the flame grill. It's honestly my right hand man in terms of having a floor trap. It's going to be going into the S tier, and here is why. The flame grill absolutely fucking sucks.
Cause some came in the mail today.
I did.
These nuts. Got him.
Okay, this thing is a fucking F tier. Don't goddamn use this thing. It fucking sucks. If you use it, you might as well just delete the game. You might as well just leave the game at least, because this thing is a absolute fucking dog shit trap. All right, don't use it. It sucks. I'd rather use a goddamn jump pad than this motherfucker. All right, don't fucking use it. That's why it's beginning to go into the F tier. All right, on to our next floor trap. We got the survivor post. The versatility on this thing, I don't even know what you would call versatility with this thing. Damage output, it's kind of weird because it's not really the trap doing the work, it's a random survivor doing the work. So I guess we'll call that damage output. It has unlimited damage output. All right, really, as long as The survivor is alive. It can do as much damage as it wants, unless you give it a ruler stick. All right, don't give your survivor a ruler stick. All right, you won't pass the mission. All right, you won't complete it. But this thing is gonna be going into the C tier. It's literally a goddamn mall cop. All right, it's the fucking definition of it. That's your mall cop defense right there. The survivor post. We got the floor spike here. Absolutely underrated trap here. You know, people say, you know, it does jack shit damage, but that's not what it's used for. Just like the wall spike here, you know, it's used for something else, right? You want to have, you know, something that could damage the husk but not aggro it. That's what the floor spike is used for. You don't want to smash her to charge because, you know, it's aggroed by a high damage trap. No, all right, you want something that could give it a little bit of damage over time. So comparing this with the wall spike here, you know, it's just gonna go a little before it here, you know, since we can actually use it for damage, or sorry, ahead of it. So that's why it's gonna be going into the B tier. All right, we got Mr. Floor Freezer. All right, we got the freeze trap. This one is going to be a C tier. All right, it's gonna have to go into the C tier. I'll actually give it the top C tier. Reason for this is, yeah, it freezes the husk, but you could really use another construction called Ice King if you really wanted to freeze a husk. But I understand, you know, you can use it in different ways, so that's why it's going to get the versatility points. Can't really give it points onto the damage, but effectiveness, you know, I feel like, you know, you got better options, right? You don't really need a floor freezer. All right, it's not something that's you know, a must need for a trap tunnel or trap base, so that's why it's going to be going into the C tier. All right, jump pad. All right, it's a F tier, but it's not as bad as the flame girl. You know, if I had a smasher coming at me, I'd rather place a jump pad than a flame girl. All right, that's an F tier, but better than a flame girl. Now we have the retractable floor spikes of the Fortnite BR legend here. You know, it might not be a legend in Save the World, but it's got damage and reload speed there. You know, that's what you got with the retractable floor spikes. This is not something I would really use at any time. You know, I just can't really. I honestly rather use the floor spikes than this thing. It might. I guess I could use it at the end of. I do use it at the end of the trap tunnel. You know, I'm gonna be putting this in the B tier. All right. I was thinking about C tier, but you know, it's not that bad. No, we're gonna be putting it in the B tier. Now, people might find this controversial for some goddamn reason, but the campfire, I have no clue why the campfire looks like this. All right, but anyways, the campfire is going to be a D tier. All right, it's probably made by Dennis. You know, Dennis probably didn't have the money for the heal pad because he works at the fucking Durr Burger, so he had to build his own goddamn campfire. And I'd rather not stand there for a whole fucking mission to get healed by a campfire. All right, that's why it's going to be going in D tier. It's slow healing. All right, I don't have time for it. I'd rather use a heal pad. Up next, we have the, what do you even call that type of jump pad? Directional jump pad. All right. The directional jump pad, you know, it's better than the flame girl. Like I said, you know, I'd rather place this guy if there's a smasher coming at me than a flame girl. You know, fuck the flame girl. But it doesn't do any. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I actually might be able to put this in D tier. Hear me out. All right. It doesn't have damage. Can't rate it there. The versatility. All right. Versatility effectiveness. It's really good when you use this for MSK. All right. This is how you get from spot to spot in the MSK. I kind of forgot about that. It'll be going into the D tier. All right, it's a little better than the jump pad. It will always be better than the flame grill though. Fuck the flame grill. I only have to explain this next one. The heal pad is S tier. All right, it's the #1 healer. It's better than the little heal potion you have. Actually, no, it's not. Hold on, I'm sorry. You can revive people with that little heal spell bullshit. You know, my bad. But this guy is good. All right, it's really good. It's better than campfire. S tier. Alrighty then, we all hate sploder bombs. We all hate the flinger bombs. We all hate the dude that yells. We're going to be playing this guy in the S tier. All right, it's the only trap that's anti-air. You know, it's in the goddamn name. But yeah, S tier. There's really no question about that. Alright, so we have a really OG trap that's not in the game anymore because of how bad and unused it was. But this is the patrol ward. So have you ever been in a mission where Husk spawned by you? Obviously you have. Well, the patrol ward did not let that happen. So, you know, maybe it got rid of the annoyance, but really anything but that, it sucked. You know, it's better than the flame grill though. You know, if I had a smasher rushing up at me, I'd rather place a patrol ward than the flame grill. All right, so it's gonna be going up a little above the flame grill, but it's still bad. You know, that's why it's not in the game anymore. F tier. Now I already know I'm gonna get some hate on this. The tar pits, I don't like it. All right, I don't like the color of it. Hold on, it's not what I mean by that. All right, I just don't like it. All right, it makes me mad. Yeah, you ain't smashing shit, boy. Grass Ram Tavion, Center, Duke, University. All right, I did not mean it in the way that some people thought I meant it, but D tier. All right, D tier. Alright, coming up to our last two traps, we have the floor launcher. Floor launcher is a great jail build trap, but now that jail builds kind of died down and the jail builds that used to be insane with the floor launcher has been patched many times. The floor launcher used to be a S tier, but it's just been going down and down and down, and I just have to put it into the C tier. Alright, that's why it's going to be going in there. If jail builds become, you know, something soon, you know, if they make their comeback, it's going to be rising back up. But for now, C tier. Our last trap here, the boosty thingy. The boosty thingy is honestly a really fun thing to use in the home base with the hoverboard. That's really it. But if I had a smasher coming at me, I'd rather use this than the goddamn flame grill. Alright, so fuck the flame grill. I'd rather use the boosty thingy. It's F tier, but fuck the flame grill. Alright. And that is the finished tier list here for the traps. You know, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with this tier list. You know, I really wonder what you guys think, because honestly, this one looks pretty good. You know, fuck the flame grill. You know, like flame grill's goddamn awful. But yeah, that's pretty much it here. If you guys like the video, join the Discord server. Alright, that is all. You guys have a